this one? We knew our attorney did. She had a baby, didn't she?
She had, her baby was Saturday night, I believe.
No, she had it?
Yeah, Mayor told me last night in another meeting.
Would she have any boy or girl?
I don't know. Does anybody know what Alicia had as far as baby, or was it girl, boy, or anything?
For
Alicia?
what? For what?
Alicia, she had a baby?
She had a girl.
Girl, okay.
Sophie?
Okay.
Okay, got 5:30. Actually, AT&T is 5:30. Let's pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll have the call the meeting to order. Have the roll call, please.
Mark Mills?
Here.
Larry Mosier? Mike Nichols?
Here.
Joe Stevens?
Here.
Isaac Chavez?
Present.
Joseph Bookwalter?
Here.
And Chris Salva.
Okay, we got our minutes from the May 28th, 2025 meeting to, let's make sure we have the right people here to vote. We do have, and as long as we're all in agreement with them, we're
Make a motion to pass the minutes.
Second.
given a motion and a second to, on the May 28th, 2025 minutes. Roll call, please.
Mark Mills?
Yes.
Larry Mosier? Mike Nichols?
Aye.
Isaac Chavez?
Same.
Joe Stevens?
Aye.
Joseph Bookwalter.
Okay, we welcome all of our guests here tonight. We have two items for public hearing tonight. And the first one is docket number CPC 2025-04 from Tad Reynolds LLC, 1252 South Second Street, rezone from B residential to C residential. And should we do these together or totally separate?
Separate.
Separate, you prefer separate? Okay. So the second one's by the same petitioner, same general location, but, okay, so we will have our staff give the background report, and we'll have the petitioner speak if they would like, then anybody who would like to speak or have questions in objection or speak in favor, and then have discussion amongst everybody in an orderly way.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're here for application FF2025-00422, docket 2504. The applicant Caleb Dale Reel on behalf of Tad Rentals LLC, 4208 West County Road 650 North in Mulberry, Indiana. The request is the initial rezoning of 1252 South 2nd Street from B residential to C residential for multifamily living. This property and most of the surrounding properties are zoned B residential district even before the Unified Development Ordinance was adopted. The request is lot number 78 in Coulter and Sims 3rd edition to the city of Frankfort, Indiana, as the same as recorded in Plot 2, Old Page 58, Center Township, Clinton County, Indiana. I'm not getting into all of the property description of it, but it's more commonly known as 1252 South 2nd Street. The request analysis is that there are 5 criterias that the Plan Commission and the Frankfort City Council should pay reasonable regard to in the evaluation of a rezoning request as specified in Section 201.01C of the Unified Development Ordinance. This petition is evaluated in accordance with the criteria below. First, the most recently adopted comprehensive plan. This rezone from B residential to C residential is referenced generally on page 19 in neighborhoods of the 2035 comprehensive plan under housing. Neighborhoods are the backbone of community living and provide residents with a special sense of place. Public/private partnerships and community outreach are encouraged around residential neighborhoods. 2, the current condition of the character of structure and uses in each district. The current condition is farmland on and the old Monon Rail to the west and south. B residentials to the north and east. Blue Ridge and Green Meadows are to the south and to the east, and to the north are single-family homes. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. This property was zoned B residential before the new zoning map. The city just completed a housing study, which calls for all housing from multifamily to single-family to affordable housing. 4, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. With farmland to the west and Tony's duplex subdivision to the south, more housing that could be mixed use could be developed, and this will add value to the already existing housing that is in place. 5, reasonable development and growth. As mentioned above, the city just completed a housing study calling for all different housing groups: multifamily, single-family, large apartments, affordable housing. With the elementary school to the south of this property, more housing development is needed. So the summary and staff recommendations of this staff recommends to favorably certify and recommend plan for rezone of the property at 1252 South 2nd Street from B residential to C residential to the City Council. The draft that the Plan Commission Board forwards to the City Council, regardless of positive, negative, or neutral recommendation, should be forwarded complete and ready for adoption as an ordinance and general concept. Tonight, Caleb Del Real is here along with his father, Tony. Also here is Mr. Kaiser, one of the gentlemen who's helping develop not only this property but the subdivision, in case there are any questions that you have.
Was anyone on behalf of the petitioner here to speak? And,
I do got questions.
okay, please come forward and state your name for the record, because I think we are we being streamed or just recorded?
It is being streamed.
Okay.
I'm Kathy Clendening. Yeah, so I'm nervous. Okay. So is it gonna be an apartment? I live down there. I've lived there my whole life. And it's gonna be an apartment.
It's going to be a duplex. And right now, what it looks like is that it'll be a duplex where it's a first story and a second story duplex.
So it's a house on one side, but it's a house, it's a upstairs.
On top of each other, house on top of each other.
So it's an apartment.
Yes.
It'll look like a townhouse.
But it'll look like a, yeah.
A cheetah townhouse is another way of saying it.
Okay, now my next question, where's the parking all gonna be?
Great question. So he would be required to have 4 off-street parking spaces. If you look at the triangular property, this house will sit more towards the northern side of the property where it's all open. I spent 2 days putting everything in place, and the parking should be at the triangular point in, and there's plenty of room there and impervious surface to be able to get the 8 parking places in place, along with the duplex.
Okay,
I should say
So-
4, 2 for each apartment is required, not 8. I'm sorry.
so where are you saying the parking's gonna be?
So-
Because it comes down the alley to a
Yep.
point, 2nd Street comes here. There's the house right here on the corner right now.
Here we go. Let me do this right here.
Yes,
So the 2-story duplex could be sitting right here. And then your parking will be coming down to the point. So right now, that garage sits right in here. I believe that will have to go because you can only have one principal property on
one
lot.
one lot.
And then he'll have an entry into his parking right here.
okay. So it won't affect, where the alley goes around there?
Yep.
Will that affect?
It will not.
Okay, okay. Because, like I said,
So this
'Cause-
this requires setbacks. So let's explain that. So where it's sitting right now, this building has to be 5 foot from this property line, which it is.
Correct.
Now, from here, it can be 12 foot because not this house, but the next house is 12 foot. So any house that's on the same side of the street, that's as close to the street, they can be too. So that house is 12 foot. I was out there yesterday, measured it all. So this can be 12 foot too. This can be 12 foot also. Then off of the alley, we like to have at least 3 foot off the alley, but as you can see, there's going to be plenty of backyard here. And then this will have, the parking facility have a way in off of First Street or Second Street and out of the alley too.
Right, which it basically already does.
Well, it's all grass right now, but it will when they, because this garage house is sitting down here.
Oh, okay, that's where they're gonna, okay.
And that has to go away because he can't have 2 homes on the same lot.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, I had it. Okay. Well, while I'm here, can I ask a question? I've been trying to
Ask all you
find out
can,
for
ma'am.
over a year. You know all this land back here?
Going online.
I've been trying for almost 2 years to see how to buy it. Who do I get in contact? I went to the survey office. There's no name. The guy that lives on the corner that has the horses, D&D or whatever, they own up to where the trees are. And I mow from the trees clear down to the telephone pole about where this lot here ends.
So
And I've been mowing that for like 18 years.
So it would be the railroad now that would be responsible for what would be the old Monon line. I don't know if it's CSX or if it's North Fork and Southern, but I would guess one of those two would be the group that you would make contact with to see about the purchasing of that property. And then if you did, you would only get half, as it would go half to them and half to, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong with that, but I think that that's how that would work out.
Half to who?
Half to the owner on this side, unless this
Oh.
owner doesn't want it.
He already, I guess he already, according to the TV screen that they showed me, he's got it from the starting of the stuff down to his property, the railroad. But there's no name this way.
Well, it's the old Monon line, and so it'd be either one of those 2 railroads that you would make contact with.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
From experience, old railroad right-of-ways are a big question mark all over Indiana, all over America, because it depends how they were originally bought, whether fee simple, whether they easements, and so best thing to do, if you want to do that, contact an attorney and, because it's a legal process, make sure you get clear title, so it's,
Right, yeah, because, I mean, I did talk to my attorney, but then they said that they don't, the reception said that they don't deal with things like that, that he had called me, but he's never
if it
called.
gets complicated, I've dealt with this before myself, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like, I keep it clean. You know, that's the problem. I keep that part clean. I just,
Not a problem, that's a good thing.
yeah, because they came in and tore down all those trees that were there, the power light, company did. And me being nosy, I went and asked them why, because of the power lines. I said, so you gonna clean this up? No, you can have it if you want. So we raked all the stuff that blew out into the yard. We raked it all up. We kept it clean and mowed so it looks nice when you look out there. But it's all grown back up now. So, but I just didn't want that part messed with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not, he just has that triangular property.
Okay. Okay. We just didn't understand, because somebody said that they were gonna keep the house, and I forgot you can't do 2 on one.
You cannot.
Like, that's the question I was gonna ask you too, Don. This is a drawing you're talking to her about.
Yes.
On here, it does say existing house to remain.
Yeah.
Is it gonna remain or not?
It cannot. We tried all kinds of ways, and I've talked to Tony a little bit, but I've not talked to him since we worked on it this afternoon. Miranda and I sat down and had a good long conversation, trying to figure out all the ways. So, one of the ways that could potentially keep both is developing it into a small subdivision. But we couldn't get 6,000 square feet for the garage house. That would be required as a single family dwelling, so that would require 6,000. So we couldn't get that. No matter what we did, we couldn't get to 6,000. And if we did, then we shorthand the duplex, because it has to have at least 2,000 square foot. So it's not going to be able to hang around there. The only other way that they could do it is if they took the garage, built a different foundation, put the garage in the middle of the property with the new foundation and added on to that house or in that house, then you could potentially maybe look at it as a duplex type process. But that's about the only way that we can come up with keeping that garage home.
Yeah, it looks like it kind of goes over the line anyway, and you run into
It's,
problems. Yeah.
it would be a non-conforming use. It meets no
Yeah.
setbacks.
Okay, I think that might be all I,
Now, would the railroad be able to help her on the answer, the office they have here in town?
Not, they may be able to guide her to another person to call,
Okay.
but they won't be able to help as far as acquiring the ground.
I know
First, you gotta find out
anything
what
with them
railroad.
is hard to do.
Because
You gotta find out what railroad owns it.
probably CSX, I think, has the remains of Monon, I think.
Probably that's.
I have no idea where their
In
office
fact,
is.
this would have been potentially the end of the Monon Trail you hear about in Indianapolis. You know, it could have come right here in this spot, but so much has been plowed under between here and, you know, now Hamilton County's trying to build it at least as far as Kirkland, but it's pretty much gone from here to Kirkland, so. Because trail front lots are really more valuable, you know, it would really be an enhancement for this whole area if it was part of, this is the end of the Monon, but, it's also in the comprehensive plan too, but it's kind of too far gone to really make it realistic, but. Okay, are there any other questions
thank
or any
you.
more comments? Anyone else who would like to speak, I guess, in favor or against, including the petitioners, or? We'll turn it over to the members who have any questions for anybody.
I'm in favor of sending it to the council.
Yeah, I just got one follow-up question too. I know we're gonna be having the next hearing, and this is kind of a separate one, that's why I was wondering if we're gonna do them together. But when they come back in, you know, if the next one gets approved by city council, will this be part of the subdivision plat? If the next one should get approved, rezone, and then, cause that's gonna be subject to subdivision approval, I believe, right? This one technically would not be, and so will it be included?
It would not be, we're just improving the lot.
And so will the sidewalk be extended southward though?
The sidewalk should already be there because it is one of the routes to school, I believe, goes down through there. So,
Because it ends at the driveway, and I was gonna say, it would make sense to extend it southward, both for the school purpose.
oh, this is
potentially,
Second Street, not First Street, isn't it?
Or to access, have a walkway from these other lots we're gonna be getting to here in a few minutes, so.
Normally, when we have construction of a building on a lot, we require that the sidewalks get put in place.
So it would be in front of what you have labeled existing house to be torn down. And so it would be extended all the way to the south line.
It should be doing that, yes.
It would be a nice linkage from this next one we're going to be hearing. And if it's not coming back to us as a subdivision, we kind of need to address that now. That's kind of what I'm getting at, so.
We require all sidewalks to be in place.
Any
I'd,
additional questions?
I'd make a motion.
You have a question?
Yeah, I've got it.
I'll second that.
You have a
I'm
question?
sorry. Yeah, I did have a question. Would you explain to me, I guess with our housing shortage, it's nice to put a duplex in, but you're wiping out, I say a perfectly fine home, I'm not driven by it, but it's a perfectly fine home. You're gonna require them to tear that down in order to comply. Why can't it all work?
Because you, in a city lot, you cannot have two principal buildings on the same lot unless they're tied together through a breezeway or some type of a roof line. Then they become all one property, all one. So you're just not, now then, you're entitled by the new ordinance to put in what is called a grandfather's or an in-laws quarter, but that's attached to the principal building. So it's all based on the fact that you're only allowed to have one principal building on a lot here in the city of Frankfort.
Why are they not allowed to split that lot?
Correct, that's what I was gonna get to.
So, that's a great question. I'll answer that.
Yeah,
So we tried that. When we said we try to develop it as a small subdivision, which is less than 4 lots, and they're not putting in any streets, then the duplex has to have at least 2,000 square feet for it to be in existence. And that single-family dwelling has to have at least 6,000 square feet in a C residential district. Well, I can't get it on the property. The total square foot on that whole property is over 8,000 square feet, but we can't get it divided up, meet the setbacks, and have both houses on it. We really tried everything we could to keep the garage house in place, but it's just not going to make it. Now, can he go and get a variance? Sure, he can go do that. He can go do that if he were to develop this as a subdivision, two lot subdivision. He could come and request when he comes to the primary development. He could request from this group not to have a 6,000 square foot or a 2,000 square foot, whichever it would take. You could set that as part of the primary plot and move forward. So that you could do. We couldn't do it just saying, okay, let's see if we can lock this in and be in place. There are ways I guess you can do, and variances would be what would be required to get both on the same place.
or if it's considered, I know this is a separate case, but, it's totally related to the very next one, the land to the south, because it's all kind of part of the same larger development, that even goes into the county. And is there a way that this whole thing could be done under the PUD, which would also, you rezone from B to PUD, kind of like what was down out there at Valderas Point, which allows you to negotiate lot sizes, densities, and
I don't
it
think
surprises me if the county doesn't do that for the part of this that's in the county land.
these two properties touch each other. I think that you've got a farm ground to the south, Coddington. I think he's in that area, isn't that right, Tony? And I think that one is what would separate getting into where Tony's at. So I don't think it'd be put in as a PUD.
It's like up here and down here.
Is it-
See, we're all the way up here and see, they don't touch each other.
Okay, so I'm off the block then. So-
Okay, I've been there.
But
I've been there.
the concept, could it still work? I mean, could this be zoned PUD where they could keep both structures? That'd be another option, and rezone it from B to PUD.
I'm not real familiar with PUDs. I don't know if does that have to be a certain amount of acreage or square foot to do that, or I don't know. I guess I could look it up. I got it right here in front of me.
Yeah, there's probably no easy answer. I mean, but that's just an option to consider, and because if there's a perfectly good house, I didn't get a chance to drive down and take a look at it, but if there's a good house on there, it'd be nice, yeah, because that
Caleb,
makes sense.
is there a time restraint on this? Is this something, an avenue you want to pursue? I don't know if you knew that this other structure would have to be removed in order to move
Right,
forward.
that's what we're trying to make it work with that on there. Kind of sounded like it won't, but there's not really a timeline specifically.
It seems like either BZA approach or the PUD through a rezoning approach, particularly would tie it into the other one, because you probably wouldn't run into the parcel size issue on that, because you need a certain size to do a PUD, because Banderas Point was done that way, where you kind of negotiate lot sizes as part of the PUD process, and then that's what sets your density and kind of overrides all the underlying lot sizes and dwelling units per
It
acre,
also-
that kind of stuff.
It also doesn't make sense to take down a home when
Yeah.
we need homes. I mean, the whole idea is to bring in more housing.
I'm just wondering if the BZA can't give them a special exception to do that, or just
Well, they
a
would-
different route.
The garage home, I call it a garage home, it meets no setbacks as far as from the front, from the side, or from the rear property because of it's sitting on that point of the triangle. Is that called the apex? Apex of the triangle.
Does it make any sense to hold up, and they're saying we need the housing, would it make any sense to hold it up for a single resident? I mean, you're talking about one house, but the other side of the coin is,
Well, let me step in to say to you that we're not even discussing that. All we're discussing is the rezone of the property.
Yeah, I understand.
And the development will come down the line, and it'll only come if you rezone the property to C residential. And then the work begins on how you put all of it together, whether we can make this work out or we cannot. Whether you zone it makes a big difference on whether it is what he can do. Because if you don't do C residential, the duplex is out unless they go back to the BZA and ask for a special exception. Because it is B residential, they could do that. But we're here to request a rezone, and then they will work out through Barry and his group and Tony drawings that what can be made or what can't be made, and we'll go through all that process with the UDO. All we're needing right now is whether or not you will rezone this to C residential.
And this is kind of right across the street from the one we had last month.
It is. It's
Basically.
almost, yeah,
Diagonally.
on the back side of it. This is on First Street last week, and this is now on Second Street.
Right
So.
there, you're right. What's that thing?
Yeah, so it's almost adjoining the one we did last month, same kind of concept. So I personally feel to approve it, favorably certify it, but encourage them that they can then go to the BZA and argue to keep the house.
Yeah.
Can that be one of
There's ways to deal with all that, but not here tonight.
Okay. But this gets a duplex moving, and then it's between,
Your motion still
but
stands?
then, but it has to be more parking for the house and then the double duplex, so.
Before we go to the vote, we have guests here. Let's make sure everybody understands that, because if they pass this does not rezone this property. They're going to request the rezone to the council. The council will meet a week or this coming Monday evening. If the Plan Commission passes this rezone, then it'll go before the Plan Commission on Monday. They're the ones who will actually rezone the lot.
Yeah, we're doing a recommendation to city council as final say. So entertain for a motion.
Yeah, I would make a motion
I'd
that we
second.
approve this request for going from B residential to C residential on the property at 1252 South Second Street.
There was a second, I believe. Okay, roll call then, please.
Mark Mills,
Yes.
Larry Mosier,
Yes.
Mike Nichols,
Aye.
Joe Stevens,
Aye.
Isaac Chavez,
Aye.
Joseph Bookwalter.
Aye.
And so anyone from the audience who is interested in this, you can go to the city council meeting also, you know. And so
Yes.
you might want to announce, the date of
Yes.
that, so if you have any questions of, because those are public meetings also. Okay, the second item on the agenda is CPC 2025-05 by Tad Reynolds LLC. Again, it's vacant land on South Second Street to rezone from ag to C residential. And I said this kind of straddles the city-county line, and our staff is on it. They can explain it here to us.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is application 2025-00423, docket 202505. The applicant is Caleb Dale Real on behalf of Tad Rentals LLC, 4208 West County Road 650 North in Mulberry, Indiana. The rezoning is of partial ID number 1210-15207 002.000-021. It's a vacant land on South Second Street from agricultural to C residential for multifamily living. This property is currently zoned agricultural. The site characteristic, this is a very small version of the legal characteristics of this property because there are so many different properties that are involved in this subdivision. I narrowed it down to, I hope, the easiest part, so I don't have it all down here. We'd probably have about 2 or 3 more pages of staff report. The request is part of the Northwest Half Section 15, Township 21 North Range IW, Second Principal Meridian, Center Township, Clinton County, Indiana. The request analysis is that there are 5 criterias which the Plan Commission and the Frankfort City Council should pay reasonable regard to. in the evaluation of a rezoning request as specified in Section 20101C of the Unified Development Ordinance. The petition is evaluated in accordance with the below criteria. 1, the most recent adopted comprehensive plan. 2035 comprehensive plan reads as follows. Part 3, community living, limited future multifamily uses and eliminating existing illegal conversions. This can be accomplished through downzoning most of the city residential areas for primary single-family use and stopping future conversions. Any two-family multifamily structure shall obtain approval from either the Plan Commission through rezoning or the Board of Zoning Appeals through special exception. 8 illegal conversions should be eliminated each year from 2016 to 2021. Now, the reason why this is different from the first one is I wanted to put this in here to show you the complete opposite of what's coming on as far as what we're asking for now. And that is through a land study, a housing study, it now calls for the opposite. It calls for, public-private partnerships to develop all kinds of housing, whether it's multifamily, whether it's workforce housing, whether it's single family. So I just put that in there because that's what it used to read or what it reads now. 2, the current conditions and character of structure and uses in each district. The partial ID 1210-15-207-002.000-021 is a vacant lot. There is a multifamily home located at 253-255 White Street, a farm to the north, along with single-family residences. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. This property was B residential prior to the new zoning map, but because the city did not have an agricultural zoning district. And the 2035 comprehensive plan talks about downzoning for primary single-family use. The city just completed a housing study which calls for all housing, including multifamily, single-family, and affordable housing. 4, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. This property is surrounded by an elementary school, multifamily, a farm, and single-family residence. The staff recommends on the summary of staff recommendations to favorably certify the recommended plan for rezoning of partial ID 1210-15-207-002.000-021 from agricultural to C residential to the City Council. The draft that the Plan Commission Board forwards to the City Council, regardless of positive, negative, or neutral recommendation, should be forwarded complete and ready for adoption as an ordinance in general concept. I want to say that in this subdivision that Tony Del Real and Caleb is bringing forward, we will only have in this subdivision right now somewhere in the area of 5, maybe 7 duplexes. The rest will be in the county because of the county line. So when we're going about looking for a recommendation of going from agriculture to C, it's only this very small front section that's in the city. The rest of it will be in the county. And so don't get caught up in all of the duplexes going in. We're only worried about the area where there's going to be 5 to 7 because that's what's in the city of Frankfort. Ready for questions.
So we're basically doing the first several lots of the Panhandle.
That would be true.
And the main entrance will be across that question mark railroad right of way, the way it looks.
Yeah, I know that we had a discussion about this when we first started talking about this subdivision, and they were looking at putting the entry to this off of Krug Road, which there is one, and one off of the private street of Blue Green Drive. And I just recommended that we should try to run First Street down through there for a quicker way for the fire protection and ambulance services to be able to get into the facility.
Yeah, because the question would be, is there legal rights to use that railroad right of way without getting the ownership first, which they may want to consider.
That's a great question.
And then secondly, having been part of that school approval, will they have legal access to that road?
Yeah, I think that's already been worked out with Tony and the Frankfort School Board.
Because that'd be a great idea if it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, this is a recommendation to city council. Is there any other comments from the petitioners? Anyone in favor, then anyone else who has questions or against this proposal? So this is a public hearing tonight.
When's the next county or council meeting?
June 23rd.
Monday?
Say city council's Monday night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming Monday,
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. I make a motion, we send this to the council.
Was there any other questions first? Is there, yeah. I mean, let's have the motion, then we can have discussion then after the motion. There's been a motion to favorably certify. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any more discussion among any members? Any questions? I'll say, yeah, this is a good project. You know, I mean, only question I would have would be going across the railroad right of way, but I'm sure they would work that out legally to be sure that they can do that, so, yeah.
I did speak with them like 3 years ago, and they had no interest, or there was no issues with them. And to get a letter from them is crazy. I mean, they won't.
Yeah.
So,
It's the railroad.
yeah, they're very.
Yeah.
I'm saying just for clear title things, I mean, you might want to get something that has a deed that says they give it to, because I know folks have done that. They somehow managed to get deeds from the railroad for that, even though hypothetically, we're kind of chopping up the future Monon Trail, but at this point, it's kind of can't be done, it's just too far gone. And, okay, any other discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call on the motion.
Mark Mills, oh,
We had a hand there in the back.
oh,
Yes.
I was gonna ask, where's that located at that you just talked about?
Okay, this is gonna be right at the very end. The entrance will be off of First Street. Oh, yes.
Very end.
White and First.
Right.
You can be kind of like white going straight, not quite straight west, and First Street bending.
Right, where the
West.
walkway is now. And then it's gonna be built where on this? Oh, gotcha. Okay, I see now.
Yeah, just a small part of it's in the city, most of it's in the county still. Will the county be annexed, I mean, will the city be annexing it?
I was actually gonna ask that.
No, I just.
Is there still under discussion a little
To
bit?
my understanding, that will probably be discussed as far as for the council to possibly accept this rezone as a, and I think that Eric Woods has had conversation with Tony to work out whatever it is that the council's looking to have as far as the potential of annexation down the line.
Well, obviously, will be, at least the city part will be on city sewers,
That's right.
assuming probably all of it will be.
I'm going to guess that.
Yeah.
But to do that, that's probably the request that the council's going
Yeah.
to make with Tony.
Because to go from ag to residential is a valid question to make sure there's gonna be city sewers available for the residential zoning that we're in effect recommending tonight, so.
That fall
Any
under,
more, any more questions?
would that fall underneath the voluntary annex?
What,
Would that fall underneath like a voluntary annex?
a voluntary, I don't know, is that
I
what they were gonna?
I don't know.
No, they're coming to the council for the rezone, making
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but I mean, would he be able to
Is that right?
voluntary?
He's talked to Eric, I didn't.
Yeah. I think all Eric was asking is that if the utilities go into the county, that Tony signs off like everybody usually does on the paperwork not to fight annexation.
And if they sign up for utilities, I know on the 28, it's like a 10-year, they have the
Yeah.
I don't know what Eric talked to you
Yeah.
about.
He didn't get into the details, I just know of that.
Because I know when it's annexed, hypothetically, the plan commission would have to have approval of the area that's still in the county, not part of this, when it's annexed, either simultaneously to or quickly afterwards. I know we've talked a little bit about that as far as the timing, but, you know,
Several things would occur on the county annex, and that is one, being annexed and then being rezoned to properly fit what's needed to come into the city because it's zoned in the county right now. So a lot of meetings we would try to tie together so that this is a project, and maybe Barry, if I'm not say this, there's a lot of there's a lot of fingers in the pie on this as far as trying to get financing and stuff for this. And one of the reasons why we're here tonight for a special meeting is to see if this will pass. If it does, then we've asked the council to meet at a regular meeting for an emergency so that they can then be certified that the ground is now doable for duplexes. And now they can apply for their funding and give them time in July to meet all the criteria that we need to meet for them so they can apply for their funding.
Is the county having a hearing around now too for their part of this? Or-
No, because I think it's all zoned properly for them.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions before we can have the roll call, because we already got the motion on the floor. Okay, roll call, please.
Mark Mills,
Yes.
Larry Mosier,
Yes.
Mike Nichols,
Aye.
Joe Stevens, Isaac Chavez,
Aye.
Joseph Bookwarter.
Aye.
Thank you, members. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any additional reports, items from yourself?
I have no other business, but before adjournment, I just want to remind you all that we'll be meeting again next Wednesday on the 25th.
You'll get a text from me, Larry.
Yeah,
And a call.
And I'll be here for that one. I should be-
it'll be next Wednesday, the 25th, and we're going to be rezoning a property that got changed through the UDO. And we'll get into that discussion at that meeting. You have a lot coming before you in the next few months, I can tell you. We may be having a friendly annexation coming to you in July, along with the potential of a rezone there. I don't think in July, we may be bringing you the historic overlay district to be placed into the UDO. We have that now set, ready to come before you. We couldn't get it to you in June because of the paper deadline. We couldn't get it in the paper in time for the hearing. So that will be in July. There's just a lot. There's a lot that's happening that you're going to have your fingers in the pie on. Also, I want you to know that the board will make before you leave this evening, make sure you sign that paperwork, so you don't have to come in the morning to the office to sign it. So make sure you sign your paperwork before you go. And Mr. President, that's all that I have.
Motion made.
All right.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Be sure to sign over here, please.
Mike, you got right through that.
I try not to speak up. I try not to make the thing drag too long.
I guess we need the record.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, make me come